The question is really a two-part question. Why are prices high, and why is college education so high? And Congressman Paul is the only one on the campaign trail talking about the issue of the depreciation of our currency. When you depreciate the currency, when you inflate the currency by the Federal Reserve, prices go up. And that's been happening since 1913 when the Federal Reserve was created. So it is amazing to me as a finance professor that the only one talking about the key economic issue facing the country is Congressman Paul, because he is one of the only people in the Congress of the United States that has criticized the Federal Reserve since he got there in 1976. And since 1976, the value of our dollar is down about 70%. So while other candidates talk about affordability, Congressman Paul knows what the answer is: stop the printing presses. And that will get prices back to some sort of normal level. In the meantime, what is he proposing to free up the resources that the federal government has every year? $3 trillion the federal government will spend this year. Congressman Paul wants to get rid of the income tax. That will free up $1 trillion that will be put in the hands of the American people so they can pay for all the necessities of life and for all the education needs, the health care needs, and the other needs that they have. If we don't get rid of the income tax, Congressman Paul supports the Make College Affordable Act, which will give full deductibility for all college expenses. Congressman Paul has 5 children, 3 of them are physicians. None of them have student loans. They either work through college or he supported them to get their college education. I think 3 of them are doctors also. So Congressman Paul lives what he believes, namely that, first of all, the Constitution is silent on education. Article 1, Section 8 says nothing about education. If anyone can find education in the Constitution, I will pay for your college education. How about that?
I'll look into it.
Okay. So Congressman Paul takes his oath seriously to uphold the Constitution. If it's not in the Constitution, he cannot vote for it in good conscience because he took an oath to support and defend the Constitution. So he wants to take these issues back to the states, back to communities, and back to families where they belong. If we have that type of society, we will have much stronger families, a better educated workforce, and we will have less conflict in Washington, D.C.
Thank you.
Dr. Sabrin, who's representing Dr. Paul. You mentioned that Ron Paul wants to make higher education more affordable by strengthening the dollar, and that it's true the weakening of the dollar has increased the cost of education by about 50% in the last 2 years. If you're taking your dollars and going to Europe, how will Congressman Paul expand accessibility to higher education here in the United States?
Well, like I said, first of all, higher education, education in general, is not the responsibility of the federal government. What he's proposing is to eliminate the income tax and not replace it with a so-called fair tax. He wants to free up $1 trillion of the American people's money to put back in their own pockets so they can spend on education, health care, every necessity and everything that families need in order to provide for their own needs. In other words, he's talking about re-establishing the concept of personal responsibility and family units in order to make sure that they have the resources that the government is now wasting in these cities in Washington. Last week, it's amazing how much building is going on in Washington, D.C. with our tax dollars, which doesn't provide us with 1 drop of education, 1 drop of food, 1 drop of energy, 1 drop of anything, except hire more people to push paper. And we have $1 trillion national defense budget. Now, we all know that there's a thing called opportunity cost. So if you're spending money on guns, like Lyndon Johnson said you can also spend it on butter, but that's not the way it works. If you try to do it, you have to borrow trillions of dollars, which we have, and you have to print up trillions of dollars, which we have. And now in 2008, we have a financial storm coming together that may be greater than what we experienced 70 years ago. So Congressman Paul knows what the issues are. He knows how to stop the inflating, the depreciating currency, so we can have prices stabilize. And he wants to return the resources to the people who earned it so they can take care of their own family's needs.
Thank you.
You're welcome.